first panic attack I had, I was about 16 or 17 years old, and it was a nocturnal panic attack, which, at least for me, is when I'm dead asleep and then I just wake up in a full state of panic. And sometimes I'm already jumping out of the bed and like running out of the room. When I become conscious of what's happening, my heart is racing. It's the same symptoms as a regular old panic attack. So racing heart, difficulty breathing, just that same chemical rush that you feel when you're terrified of something, and then chills and shakes. I get shakes when I'm anxious, and I didn't have another one like that again. So that was like when I was about 17 years old, and then I'd had other forms of panic later in life, like in my 30s. But I still at this point didn't even know what it was. And then I started experiencing again the nocturnal panic attacks over the pandemic. Surprise, surprise. The first time I had an anxiety attack and then realized what it was, because while it was happening, I just thought I was dying, both when I was younger and then again in my 30s. And I remember very vividly not understanding what was wrong, but I was in the subway and I just suddenly had to get out of the subway as fast as I could. I completely overheated. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I felt panicked. But at this point, I still didn't even understand what was going on. I don't know why. I just thought there was something medically wrong with me, which I think is really common. I think a lot of people, when they first start experiencing that, they just think that there's something medically wrong. And there can be, but that's not always the case. Sometimes panic can feel just like agitation, and sometimes it just feels physical, like you feel really chilly. And sometimes it's so severe that people rush to the hospital because they think they're having a heart attack. It's just different for different people at different times. And some people claim to never feel anxious, which is baffling to me, but wonderful for them. So happy for them. Sometimes the causes of anxiety is just straight up stress. Just there's a lot going on at work or in your relationship with your family. Sometimes it is a dietary or lifestyle thing. And sometimes even those dietary things are not, they're within your control, but they're not obvious. Like food allergies and even celiac disease can manifest, or the symptoms can manifest in the same way as the symptoms of a panic attack do. Irritability, difficulty breathing, you're feeling like your heart is racing. It's a gray area because it's hard to say if the symptoms are strictly a symptom of a food allergy or strictly a symptom of celiac, or if eating those foods when your body can't tolerate them trigger anxiety, which then triggers those symptoms. I'm a big fan of food journaling. I encourage my nutrition patients to keep a food journal or track what they're eating, just so that they themselves can become more aware of if there are certain things that are triggering certain feelings for them, and if there are certain things their body doesn't tolerate very well. And if there's some things that they feel, wow, I'm having a really severe reaction to this, then obviously further testing could be done and probably should be done. Sometimes these feelings come on very quickly after eating something. So if you eat or ingest, say, coffee or an energy drink or something with a high glycemic value, like a high fructose corn syrup or very refined sugars, things like that, or even if you have a food allergy, food sensitivity, celiac disease, you can experience pretty quickly after you eat these feelings of irritability, feeling agitated, maybe feeling like you can't catch your breath properly, you can't breathe properly, that your heart is racing, maybe you have the shakes, you have chills, you feel overheated, you can even feel nauseous and stomach pain or have to rush to the bathroom I mean, there's a bunch of symptoms, and that can happen pretty quickly after you eat something a lot of the time. And sometimes if your anxiety is brought on by something like an imbalance in the gut microbiome, this is something that happens a bit more slowly over time. So you just maybe won't react immediately after eating something specific. It'll just be something that you're prone to, these panic attacks or these feelings of anxiety, because of this imbalance. You have hormones, a high percentage of your hormones are actually produced in your gut. And we go into this at length in the last episode of this YouTube channel on gut health. So I won't go into it again today. If you want to learn more about gut health, go check out the most recent video. And if you really want to nerd out on how gut health and anxiety are related, I'm trying to figure out how to give you viewers information so that you feel like you walked away with something at the end of this video that will help you ameliorate your quality of life in some way without nerding out so hard that you feel like I'm just lecturing you. And it's tricky. I'm working on it. So if you really want a lot of information about how food affects your gut health, you can go listen to the Sweet Vegan Spills the Tea podcast, or watch it even. I think it's up on the YouTube channel, on the Sweet Vegan Spills the Tea YouTube channel. And that episode is called, Is Your Food Feeding You or Your Anxiety? And I go very deep on that episode. So if you really are into that and you want to nerd out on it, go check that out, because there's a lot of information there. But here I'm just going to talk about some of the foods that you can incorporate into your day-to-day diet to help prevent or manage feelings of anxiety that you're experiencing. By the way, if you do go to the doctor and talk to them about your anxiety and your doctor prescribes you a medication to help you feel less anxious, I would strongly recommend that you also ask them to test you for food allergies and vitamin deficiencies before you take that medication. Selenium, for example, if you're deficient in selenium, this can cause anxiety and symptoms of anxiety. And selenium is found in a bunch of foods like pumpkin seeds, chia seeds, peanut butter, whole oats, whole wheat germ, and Brazil nuts. Honestly, one Brazil nut, like one big Brazil nut a day, would cover your requirements for the day for selenium. I love a savory breakfast, and I like making variations of the miso millet porridge that Alicia Silverstone has in her book, The Kind Diet. Her recipe originally calls for squash, which is a great source of tryptophan, which converts to serotonin in your brain, but we don't have any in the house at the moment, which is actually really unusual. I add usually 2 or 3 times the amount of water that is called for on the package of millet, and I just stir it often, kind of like making a risotto. I just keep stirring it often and adding more liquid as needed until it's a consistency that I like. I often eat it with shiitake mushrooms, which we did have in the house, and I love them so much. They are so tasty, and they also contain vitamin D, which is not as efficient of a source as the sun, but we can use all the vitamin D that we can get, because in addition to helping the body absorb and retain calcium and phosphorus, which are critical for building healthy bones, low vitamin D levels are actually associated with increased symptoms of depression, anxiety, seasonal affective disorder, and even schizophrenia. They're also really rich in B vitamins, which play a critical function in controlling the brain and neurological systems, and getting adequate B vitamins, especially B12 and B6, but also other Bs, are really helpful for preventing feelings of stress and anxiety and depression. And then I will always add some greens like some bok choy or kale or spinach or gailan or other dark green leafy veg. Super important. They're packed with iron, among other things, and iron is an essential element for brain function and plays a really important role in how our body makes serotonin and dopamine, which is very important to our mental health. I have these oat and seed bars that I love to make that are so tasty, and they are made of mashed bananas. People think they should avoid bananas because they have sugar in them, but because of the fiber in the bananas, that sugar is released more slowly into your bloodstream, and this stabilizes your blood sugar and your mood levels. Bananas are also rich in vitamin B6, like we said. B6 helps synthesize those feel-good neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin. And bananas are an excellent source of potassium, but they're also rich in magnesium, and these are great for helping with fatigue, anxiety, and depression. And bananas contain prebiotics, which are great for your gut health. In the recipe, I mash bananas with some maple syrup and a little bit of coconut oil, which I think you could probably omit. I haven't tried that yet. I think I will though. I roughly grind some whole oats, so these are carbohydrates that increase the amount of serotonin in your brain, which has a calming effect. There are some seeds. I put pumpkin seeds and sunflower seeds, which are great sources of omega-3 fatty acids, which are fantastic for our brains, which are actually made up about 60% of fat. So it makes sense that consuming these good fats are essential for optimum brain health. And there are also some dried fruit in there. I put dried cranberries. Dried fruit are often very high in iron. And then of course there is some dark chocolate in here, which is a great source of tryptophan, and some chopped walnuts, which are also another great source of omega-3s. I love making these bars because they are delicious, and they're a great pre or post workout boost of protein and energy, and they're just a really tasty snack. In fact, you can even have them as a dessert. And because they're packed with fiber and protein, like I said, that stabilizes the sugar. A lunch that I really love to make is a quinoa salad. I like to make a tahini dressing to go with it, and tahini is just ground sesame seeds basically. It has a little bit of a bitter taste to it, so it's a bit of an acquired taste, but I love it. And I mix it with a little bit of lemon juice and a lot of garlic, and sometimes I'll put a little bit of maple syrup as well, just to soften the bitterness of the tahini, the acidity of the lemon juice, and then the harshness of the garlic, and maybe a little pinch of salt also. And then if the dressing is too thick, I'll add a little bit of olive oil or sesame oil or even some water just to thin it out a little bit and make it more the consistency of a salad dressing. I will cook up a bunch of quinoa in advance and let it cool down to room temperature. Quinoa, like the millet and the rolled oats, is a whole grain or a complex carbohydrate. This is a great source of B vitamins, loaded with iron and also with zinc. And zinc is required for a healthy nervous system, as it also is a key player in making neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine. And it also stimulates the vagus nerve, which is the nerve that sends the message of calm to your brain. To the quinoa, I'll add some veggies, whatever I have on hand, like radishes, tomatoes, cucumbers, some fresh herbs if I have some, like parsley or cilantro. And then I'll grill an avocado just quickly on one side. And the avocado is a great source of omega-3 fatty acids and doesn't have to be grilled, obviously. You can just slice up some raw avocado. Even when I grill it, it's just for a few minutes. And to be perfectly honest with you, it's just because I find it adorable. So I'll just throw the salad on the avocado or next to it and dress it with some tahini and some chickpeas. And the chickpeas are another great source of tryptophan and also magnesium, and of course protein. Another amazing food that we eat often at our house is sweet potatoes. And sweet potatoes are rich in B vitamins, iron, magnesium, potassium, and zinc. They're also a great source of beta carotene.
which helps in reducing damage to brain cells and can be helpful in reducing the oxidative stress on DNA, which has been linked with depression and anxiety. One way that we make them often is by baking them whole in the oven and then stuffing them with a mixture of usually black beans. Black beans, like so many beans, most beans, are rich in magnesium, iron, and zinc, among other things, and of course protein. So we'll start by sauteing some onions and celery and garlic, always, and adding the black beans to that. And then if I have any chilies or jalapeno, I'll dice that up and toss it in, maybe with some tomatoes, some fresh herbs like parsley or cilantro, and usually also some greens like collard greens or mustard greens or chard. We served our sweet potatoes this week with a side of plantains, and plantains are in the same family as bananas, but they have a tougher skin and they're firmer and they hold up better when you cook them, and they're also lower in sugar. Plantains have all the same benefits as bananas in that they are packed with magnesium and potassium also. And they're so easy to cook up. You can just saute them up quickly in a little bit of olive oil with some salt and pepper, and it only takes a couple minutes on each side. So once these sweet potatoes have cooled down enough to be able to handle them, we just slice them right down the middle and then stuff them with the bean mixture, and then often serve them with a bit of cashew cream or vegan sour cream. I'll usually add some salsa or salsa verde, and they are just delicious and really filling. Any of you who know me know that I am a nutritionist and a naturopath, and also studying to be an herbalist, and that I am obsessed with plants and all of the amazing things that they do. I created a tea for one of my daughters who was experiencing a lot of anxiety and added it to the Witch's Kitchen menu of teas. It's an anti-anxiety. The tea is made up of a mixture of oat straw, which is a nervine and helps relax and tone the central nervous system. It has peppermint and lemon balm. They're both part of the same family with many culinary and medicinal uses, and widely used as a remedy for nervous tension and as a sedative for people who are suffering from anxiety and insomnia. I use passion flower, which has been used for years and years to treat anxiety and insomnia, as well as lavender, which have been used also medicinally for a very long time to balance the nervous system, and is often used at night for symptoms of sleeplessness and as a gentle antidepressant. And also chamomile, which is an herb that offers numerous gentle benefits, from digestive support to a pain reliever and hormonal support, and of course the treatment of anxiety and insomnia. Just a note, when experimenting with herbs and drinking herbal teas and tinctures, always make sure that there are no contraindications if you are taking any medications, especially medications for heart conditions or depression or anxiety, to make sure that you are not mixing herbs and medications that do not go together. There can be repercussions that are quite unfavorable. And of course, if you are pregnant or breastfeeding, it's always important to check first that the herbs that you're taking are safe for that.
Thank you so much, as always, for watching this video. It means so much to me. I hope, if you haven't already subscribed, that you will consider subscribing and enabling the notifications so that you are sure not to miss out on any videos when they come out. If you're a Patreon subscriber, I can't thank you enough for believing in the work that I'm doing and helping to make this channel possible So thank you, thank you, thank you for that. And if you're interested in working one-on-one with me, there is a link in the description of this video where you can book a session. Have an amazing week and take really, really, really good care of yourselves.